Log Horizon, Volume 1, Chapter 4, Part 2. The morning mist was a temporary scene in the early summer, which turned back into a bright blue sky soon after fading. The three of them walked on the half-ruined highway. In ancient times, which was the modern era in the real world, it was known as the grandest highway of the capital. The highway that was like a bridge over the land extending far into the north. Looking back from the capital highway, the zones they had passed through were relatively peaceful. There was more wildlife than monsters out here. You could see herds of deer and bears taking a leisurely stroll. The players believed the world of Elder Tales was set thousands of years into the future of the real world, so much that it was akin to the official setting. According to the Elder Tales lore, there had been a war so grand that it had literally shattered the world, and the world was now rebuilt into its current state by the miracle of the gods. This was a common world-building setting seen in fantasy games. The graphics that improved with each new expansion enchanted the players with its beauty. But after the catastrophe, the scenery they saw with their eyes was beyond that of any rendering machines. The trio had no problem riding, even though they had zero experience doing that. Horses were a common mode of transportation in Elder Tales. All players could ride a horse without any practice. A horse could be purchased or rented for a few days from shops. It was normal for mid-level players to have their own ride. Horses were treated like summon creatures when Elder Tales was just a game. You obtained a flute after buying or renting a horse. You could summon the horse by blowing the flute in any place. This setting was recreated in this world. Your horse would run to you from far away when you whistled for them, so you wouldn't need to tie it down and worry about your horse when raiding dungeons. Horses were classified as items in the game and would not die, but this had yet to be confirmed in this world. You might lose your horse if you called for them in dangerous places, so Shiroe had not experimented and confirmed this aspect. Shiroe's group would be traversing through field zones for this journey. As the name implied, there were open and vast areas in the world. The world basically consisted of interconnected field zones. There were some buildings in good condition that were considered individual zones, but ruins and abandoned buildings were usually part of the field zone's background. One of the features of field zones was their vague boundaries. Enclosed zones were connected to others by doors, cave entrances, and stairs, but field zones had no clear entry points to move between neighboring zones. You would cross over to the adjacent zone by walking over to the zone boundary, so being in which zone was not a concern when traveling over open land. You could check which zones you were in by opening the status screen if you wished. The highway the trio was traveling on was in a state of despair. Debris and collapsed sections were everywhere. They had to traverse some parts by horse. The trees engulfed so much of a section that it was practically a forest. They had no choice but to go through the dense undergrowth instead. They decided to rest just a short while past noon. The flyover highway merged with a wide road after rounding a complicated curve in the sky. The asphalt under their feet was alarmingly weak. It would be dangerous to go this way any further. Shall we take a lunch break? Naotsugu, who was leading the way, sighed deeply at Shiroe's suggestion.
It's nice that riding a horse is automatic, but my butt still hurts.
That's right. Shiroe nodded in agreement while Akatsuki stared with a questioning look asking,
Does it?
The height difference between Shiroe and Akatsuki was about 30 centimeters. Shiroe estimated her weight to be half of his. Being so much lighter would place less burden on her lower body while riding.
I wonder how far we went.
It's only been half a day. You're too hasty, stupid Naotsugu.
Naotsugu remained nonchalant despite Akatsuki's words. They were used to this type of interaction, a way of bickering and playing around. Shiroe led them down the slope made of collapsed sections and debris of the highway. This was probably a residential area in ancient times, but only the remnants of telephones were left, a wasteland without any trees. On the reddish undulating ground, they found a boulder suitable to be used as a table to rest. They laid a cloth on the surface of the rock and placed food, canteens, tools, and a map on top. This was a map of Japan labeled with the names of zones Shiroe still remembered.
Where did you find that, my lord? That's a really nice map.
Just as Akatsuki saw, the map was really detailed and worthy of praise. It was about 1 square meter when fully opened, with a drawing of an archipelago similar to Japan. The zones under the jurisdiction of the Japan server of Elder Tales. The map was drawn with 4 colors, labeling rivers, forests, and even villages. Not something an amateur could draw. My subclass is Scribe. This is a map I copied off the Akiba library.
I see. Nice job, my lord.
Well, where are we?
Naotsugu asked as he opened his canteen. We should be around here. Shiroe pointed to the north of Tokyo, very near Akiba.
We didn't go very far yet.
Oh well, it's only been half a day. We'll make better time flying in the afternoon.
Roger.
Naotsugu chatted with Shiroe as they started digging into a basket of soggy crackers that looked like chicken sandwiches. Akatsuki usually kept out of such conversations. Shiroe recently thought she acted this way because she trusted them completely, not because she was disinterested. Since she didn't ask any questions, that meant she understood the contents of the conversation. The horses grazed on the dry brown grass as the trio had their meals. They ran off into the distance after some time. The horses would leave by themselves a short while after you dismounted. They would be back when they blew their flutes, so the three were not concerned about them.
Will it always be like this?
Akatsuki asked as she took small bites out of her chicken sandwich. She looked far off into the distance, straight at the depths of the untamed lands. She had filtered the contents of her mumbling, and you would miss it if you didn't pay attention. But Shiroe could empathize with her. This world had recreated the settings of Elder Tales wonderfully, but Elder Tales was a game, not a journey to experience an alternate world. There was no sleep or pain in Elder Tales, and this world was not a game. It inherited the settings and logs of Elder Tales, but Shiroe believed that they should treat this as a totally different alternate world. Since the first day of the catastrophe, Shiroe felt a deep sense of unease, telling himself it would be a big mistake to mistake this world for Elder Tales. Everyone forgot about something important and wants to move on without confirming it, but no one knows what really happened. Even if this is really related to Elder Tales, this is still an alternate world. That's why everyone is acting so strangely. Security didn't really turn bad. Saying security was turning bad seemed to imply security was good before, which was not true. If you treated this as an alternate world independent from Elder Tales, then security did not exist in this world in the first place. The non-combat zones were the only places that were close to being safe. This seemed to be a shallow sign to prove that the Elder Tales setting still existed, but this restriction was not the same as laws. There was no security in the first place, so it could not have deteriorated. This was a lawless world. Akatsuki understood this point. But she still talked softly to herself, even though she understood. Were her emotions wavering in the depths of her serious eyes? I can't tell. Shiroe couldn't see through Akatsuki's thoughts. It might be unease, homesickness, or even despair. But if you searched in Shiroe's heart, he thought you would find frustration. This was the reflection of his heart. The irritation that things turned out this way. The subject when she said,
Will it always be like this?
Was this world, but it could also refer to us. Is this the best we can do? Are we being looked down on? You're killing each other, racketeering, crying, and despairing over trivial things. Are we being treated like brats? This was a question for himself. Would we immediately turn into backstabbing villains when thrown into a lawless plane? Shiroe answered firmly because he understood this. No, it won't. He would not fall into despair so easily. Like the rotten fruits falling to the ground, the world was following this natural order and turning cunning, cheap, and unsightly. It was moving away from nobility and gallantry, which was a bad thing. Shiroe didn't accept this natural evolution of the situation.
That'll be too boring,
Naotsugu commented curtly. Akatsuki looked towards the horizon. Shiroe decided to take over Maryelle's quest by himself because their chance of success was higher than that of Crescent Moon Alliance's team, based on their levels and familiarity with battles. This was just one of the reasons. But this reason was more of a want, not a need. The Crescent Moon Alliance was an independent guild, no matter how good their relations were. Shiroe's party had no obligation to spend so much time risking countless dangers to do this on their behalf. This was something that was normally impossible. Maryelle requested Shiroe to occasionally drop by and look after her guild because she understood this. She probably thought it was the limit of what she could ask of Shiroe as a good friend. This was a deduction made from common sense. Maryelle was not wrong. Naotsugu and Akatsuki also knew that they had no moral duty to aid Maryelle's comrades. But Shiroe wanted to take on this quest. Logic and calculations were important. He even held his breath when thinking through this mission. But his will was mainly driven by a sense of frustration. Shiroe was also surprised to have unearthed such strong emotions, and he was glad that his companions felt the same without putting it into words. That was too boring, too unsightly, although such embarrassing words were uttered. The wind brushed his cheeks that heated up when he recalled the event. He could feel joy, unease, and bliss within his undulating emotions. It was a sense of resistance. He wanted to resist this unsightly world. If that were the case, he shouldn't hold anything back. to do the best within his abilities, to work hard in this environment of his. As Shiroe was distracted with such thoughts, Naotsugu tapped his back.
It would help if your family is sobbing, right? That's common sense. Even if those guys are unsightly, we have no reason to dance to their tune.
Shiroe didn't want to accept that he had drifted into an unsightly, dull, and boring world beyond redemption. There must be something cool and flashy like the debauchery tea party out here. It was embarrassing to express in words, so Shiroe tried not to think about it, but he could feel that a quest like this was the answer. These were the things they should be doing.
Really, harassing a girl like this is unromantic. You need to do it more like this. Try to grab their attention.
Naotsugu's speech threw the whole atmosphere off.
Well, what types of girls do you like, Naotsugu?
Akatsuki gave Naotsugu a condescending look while Shiroe resisted joining this conversation. These pubertal thoughts were extremely awkward for Shiroe.
My range is wide, like maids and nurses. Nah, it has to be my junior, right? After joining the workforce, the clean and pure juniors joining my company look so blindingly bright. They'll even call me senpai. That is very important.
The basics are important. Teamwork is built on the fundamentals of practice. Shiroe didn't really understand what Naotsugu was implying, but he decided to answer Naotsugu loudly with conviction. Akatsuki's glares poked painfully at him.
You're absolutely right. Teamwork, tactics, and terrain are all important. Getting angry at guys when their panties are seen while climbing the stairs. They're the ones exposing and blaming us. That's really the strongest.
That's not being strong, just a nasty excuse, right? Even if that was what Shiroe thought, he wouldn't express it to Akatsuki. She nagged at him away, saying,
Ignoring that idiot Naotsugu, my lord needs to act like a proper lord. Stupid lord.
To read along with Log Horizon, or to read any other fine light novels, go to Baka-Tsuki.org. Baka-Tsuki.org. If you want to voice a character for audio light novel Log Horizon, contact me at youtubecontact22@yahoo.com. If you want to pay for your services, I can pay some money, just not a lot, and I am willing to negotiate a price. You can also volunteer if you wish. Again, just contact me at the specified email address. I'm also willing to reply to any constructive criticism, so if you have any ideas for audio light novel Log Horizon, please leave them in the comments. If you like audio light novel Log Horizon, please leave a like or a comment, as it really does motivate me to do these.